Like Rabbi Scheiner said, though sometimes we keep on doing in rote things that we've been doing for the past years, and we're still here. We're still here in Dallas. And Hashem really wants from us a real change. That's a little bit uncomfortable. You know, we have our lives, how we run it. And a real change may mean rethinking, re-understanding. And sometimes we don't want to take that jump. But nonetheless, it's necessary. It's necessary for us to have a deeper understanding why we're here and how we could really move on and be zeicher to the Geula. So I want to present an idea which you can think it over and see if it really applies. But I think it's something that we could take out which may change our view in life. The name of the shir is, is it right there? It's
navigating the social tensions of Jewish life. Navigating
social tensions
of Jewish life.
Of Jewish life. So navigating social tensions. I really want to explain how we should live through social tensions and why it's so important. So before I begin, as a little akdama, I'm going to quote for you from Reb Hirsch. And we'll step back a little into the Talmudic logic over here, and then we'll get into, Reb Hirsch does it in the beginning of Parshas Vayakel, then we'll see how it's relevant to us. There are 39 malachas on Shabbos. There are 39 malachas on Shabbos that we know about, that we're not allowed to do. Almost all of them are something to do with creation. Creating something, creating fire, killing, building. You're doing something with your action, you're causing some kind of change to take place. And the truth is, the 39 malachas correspond to the malachas they did in the Mishkan, which corresponds to the malachas Hashem did when He created the world. 39 aspects of creation. Fine. That's what He explains in the beginning. We're not going to go into all of that. But there's one malacha which differs greatly from all the others, and that's malachas haitzah. For all those that learn Masechta Shabbos, haitzah means to carry out. When you carry something out, you're not causing any change. You're just going from place A to place B. But there's no change inherently happening to the object. All the other malachas, you're changing it. If you skin an animal, you're making from an animal into a piece of leather. You're creating a change. And the malachas haitzah, the Gemara calls a malacha garua. It's a cheaper malacha because you're not actually doing anything significant. You're just moving it from one place to place B. But nonetheless, it's a malacha. And the reason being that we can have many aspects of creation. But if we don't have mobility, if we don't have things moving around, everything's in a standstill. I think Rabbi Breiter once told me an example. He said in Russia, communists took over all the businesses. Slowly but surely they took over all the businesses. But the one business they couldn't take over was the trucking business. Because if you don't have trucking moving smoothly, you can have all the businesses in the world. You could grow corn in one place, but the other place in the world is not going to have it. Without mobility, without being able to move from one place to the other, it's gone. There's nothing. We find it in the financial world today, right? If you could have a lot of big money going in the world, but if you can't move it, if you can't get a loan, you can't run a business if I can't get a loan. And the collapse of the financial markets are based, Chanan brings this up in the 1930s, that there's no trust. People do not trust each other and they don't lend, and if they don't lend, there's no movement. If there's no movement, there's plenty of money in the world, it just has to be moved around, otherwise it won't work. So that's the concept of haitzah. So Rabbi Hirsch says, if you look in Yirmiyah, when he describes the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash, he doesn't give the Hebrew translation here, but he brings that Yirmiyah spoke about that they didn't keep Shabbos. They didn't keep Shabbos. But he explicitly spoke about the Malacha of Haitzah. Take care not to carry anything on Shabbos days throughout the gates of Yerushalayim. Nor shall you bring anything from your houses on the Shabbos day or any work, so on and so on. They did not obey me, did not incline their ears, abstinently will not listen, and will not receive instruction. If you will earnestly obey me, not carrying anything through the gates of the city on Shabbos day, keeping Shabbos day holy, not doing work, then through the gates of the city will come kings and princesses. Sit upon the throne, with David riding in chariots on horseback, and so on and so forth. But if you do not obey me to keep the Shabbos day holy and not carry things through this gate of Yerushalayim, then I will kindle a fire in its gates and consume the palaces of Yerushalayim and not do anything. So this is what Hirsch explains, and he says, what's the pshat? Why was it so explicitly the Malach of Haitzah which caused the destruction? So he says, for this reason. If we look at the common idea, the underlying all the other malachos, we find that they all show man's position as a master of all things in the physical world. Haitzah, however, belongs strictly to the social sphere. The most complete picture of a full national life would be the relation of what it goes on, the individual to society and the society to the individual. Like he starts off that the last days of the Jewish state, he says that a state cannot exist, a Jewish state, without abiding to the social laws that Hashem puts on us. That's what he says. Accordingly, if the Isra of all other malachas subordinates man to God as regards to a position in the physical world, the Isra of Haitzah apparently expresses man's subordination to God as regards to his position in the social world. Which means that socially, the connection between people, we can't just have our own social law. We have to subordinate our understanding to God's understanding how we should run our social law. And that is the cause of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. That's represented by the Isra Haitzah. That's what Rabbi Hirsch says in Vayakel. We'll explain it more a little bit later, but that's the first point I want to make. That they may have done many Isurim bein Adam laMokayim. They may have done many Isurim between man and Hashem, but we know the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed for reasons bein Adam laChaveroi, which represents the social sphere, that we didn't act to our friend the way God told us to act. We act the way we felt we had to act. And this, even in the first Beis HaMikdash, which is Gili Arayas, Shvichas Damim, that's also between man and his friend. And in the second Beis HaMikdash, Sinas Chinam, is definitely between man and his friend. So we see the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of our non-conforming to the way Hashem wanted us to run our life socially. Now, just go for a moment. I have printed on here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. We don't have time. But on the top is the Art School translation of the Gemara. The Gemara brings down famous Gemara, Mikdash Rishon, Ne'mach Horev. Why was the first Beis HaMikdash destroyed? Shlosh Dvarim, because they had Avodah Zarah, Gilei Raish, Shvichas Damim. Next one, Mikdash Sheni. They were learning Torah. They were doing mitzvahs and Gemilas Chasadim. Why was that destroyed? Because they had hatred that existed. Sinas Chinam. Sinas Chinam is just as bad as the three cardinal sins. Okay, that's the Gemara. We all know that Gemara. The Gemara goes on. The Gemara wants to know which sins are worse. The first Beis HaMikdash, Avodah Zarah Gilui Arayos Shvichas Damim, or the second Beis HaMikdash, Sinas Chinam. So the Gemara says like this. The Rishonim Shenisgalu Avonim was very clear what the sin was. Nisgalu Kitzam. They were sent into Golus for 70 years. They all knew after 70 years they're out. Achroinim, the second Beis HaMikdash, Shaloi Nisgalu Avonim, it wasn't clear what they did wrong. They didn't know. They kept the Torah, they did everything. They didn't know what they did wrong. Loi Nisgalu Kitzam, they didn't know. We still don't know when the end is. So the Gemara goes on. How could that be? Rabbi Yochanan says, the fingernail of the earlier generations was better than the entire bottom, the later ones. They were better than the whole later generations. So Shloka said, no. Achronim are better, because they kept the whole Torah. What did they do wrong already? They kept the entire Torah, even though we're under other kingdoms, we keep the Torah. So Rabbi Yochanan answers back up, the next column, Bira Teichiach. If you look at the Beis HaMikdash, Shechazul Rishonim V'Chazul Achronim, we see their sins were not as bad. They're back. Our sins are worse. And the Gemara goes on. The Gemara says, Tenu Eidechem B'Bira, Tenu Einechem B'Bira, which means like this. The Rishalmi says like this. If you look at the first Beis HaMikdash, the destruction was from floor up. The Gemara says, Paschu es atikra. They opened the roof, which means that there was on the outside the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. If you look in the second Beis HaMikdash, it says, Oru ada yisoid ba. Right? There was destructed into the foundation. So the Gemara says, the first Avodah Zarah Gilui Arayos Shvichas Damim, that was on the outside. The Aveira. It was on the outside. It was on the outside. Okay, the roof of the Beis HaMikdash was off, put back on 70 years. The second Beis HaMikdash, our Aveirus was destructive to the roots. So the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed to the roots. It's not back yet. How do we understand this? How do we understand that the first Beis HaMikdash, they did Gilui Arayos Shvichas Damim, they killed, they idolatry, they did everything that was the cardinal sins. 70 years, they're off, they're finished, it wasn't so bad, there's only the roof. The second Beis HaMikdash, so there's they kept the whole Torah, but there was a little sin of Scheiner there. So that caused that the entire roots were destroyed, it was still here 2,000 years. How do we understand such a thing? So I have quoted here, it's from the Sifsei Chaim, but it's based on Rabbi Salanta's idea. I'm not going to read it inside, I'll just give over the idea, the concept, that there are two types of Yetzer Haras, evil inclinations a person could have. There's one type where you can have a strong person, but you can have the Yetzer Hara is even stronger. You know, the desire could be even stronger than the person. The push for him to do something wrong may be so strong that even a strong man can't overcome it. You can have Loyalenu, a young girl who goes and marries a guy. It could be for one of two reasons. It could be because she may be a very strong person, but for whatever the situation is, she's in a very, very bad situation, and the desire to marry this person will be so strong that finish, you can't overcome it. It goes. Then there could be another kind of Yetzer Hara. So that Rabbi Salanta calls a Yetzer Hara Ruchni. There's something out there that's enticing. It could be spiritually, Avodah Zarah. The Gemara says like this. The Gemara says, I don't have a quote down here, but the Gemara says, Menashe, we know in the times of the first temple, they were all running after Avodah Zarah. Served all kinds of Avodah Zarah. All kinds of idols. And I forget, one of the Amiram was Sheshus. He brings out Ravashi. Ravashi went and said a shir about all the kings that weren't zoicha to have a place in the world to come because they served Avodah Zarah. And he gave a shir on it. So Menashe wasn't so happy, the king Menashe, so he came to Ravashi in a dream. And he said to him, he said, See, Rav Ashi started the share. I want to talk about my buddies, my friends, the kings that don't have a place in the world to come. So Menashe came to him, you call me your buddy? I know a lot more than you. You call me your buddy. And he asked him, a Shiloh, where do you come? How might he from? I'm not going to go into the whole explanation of that. And he didn't know the answer. So he says, tell me the answer, and I'll go back tomorrow and share, and I'll apologize for calling you a buddy, Fine. So he asked Menashe, okay, so tell me, so he's such a great person, why'd you go and do this Avodah Zarah and cause whole Klal Yisrael to serve Avodah Zarah? So Menashe answered, let me explain to you something. If you'd be living in my days, you're a big Rosh Hashiva with a kapata down, you lift up your kapata and run, so you shouldn't be caught in the mud to do Avodah Zarah. You'd run so fast, you wouldn't be able to control yourself. And we know, after the first Beis HaMikdash, the Anshe Knesset Agdola killed the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. What is this saying? This is saying that the enticement on the outside was so strong that it pulled them. It pulled them, they run, they couldn't control it. So, okay? They were great people, but the Yetzer Hara was stronger. The solution to the problem was Anshe Knesset Agdola got rid of the Avodah Zarah, the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah, and so on. The second Beis HaMikdash was the opposite. It was a Yetzer Hara Tivi. A Yetzer Hara Tivi means like this: I'm weak. A lot of people do Averas for silly reasons. It's because they don't have proper control of themselves. They never learn to, to be a little more, I don't know, I'm from the next generation. I remember my grandfather, he fought in the American Army. Nothing could stop him. You didn't hear a word of a complaint from his mouth. He would do anything. Strong people. Look at some of these Russians, they're strong-willed people. Nothing could change them. In essence, our nature is weaker. And it's a Yetzer Hara Tivi. It's more comfortable for me to do this, and I'm not going to go out of my comfort zone. Why not? Maybe, we could accomplish so much. Okay? So that's a destruction within. That's a Yetzer Hara Tivi. The pull doesn't have to be so strong. It's us that are weaker. Now this, if you look at the bottom over here, just an interesting thought, machshava, it brings down here that we know that each golus is represented by a different nation, a different animal. Gomel is Bavel, camel, Shofan, Zumodai, Zarneves, Uyavan. All the animals, the non-kosher animals, they're two simonim, right? They don't have split hoofs and they don't chew their cud. The last golus we're in, Edom, is like a chazer. A chazer has split hoofs, it sticks it out, but doesn't chew its cud. Chewing its cud represents histapkus. I'm happy with what I have. I'm very happy with what I have. I chew it over, I chew my cud. A not kosher animal is not happy with what he has. He always wants more. Now we're going to get into this concept. But on the outside, the chazer looks kosher. He has hands. On the outside, it looks good. But in the inside is where he's off. And that's where we are in this golus. On the outside, everything looks good. We keep the whole Torah, we keep the mitzvahs, we're doing everything. Like Peter mentioned. We're doing everything. But the question is, what's going on the inside? So the Goin says like this. The Goin says that, what's it called? The Goin over here. The Goin says a fascinating statement. The Liban of the Rishonim, even though they were doing of the Averis, were molei betochen. This is Lashon. They were full of betochen in Hashem. V'rachmana liba bayit, Hashem wants the heart. They were there. They were just making mistakes, bad mistakes. So you take a person who's making mistakes and you tell him the right thing to do, you teach him, you give him a little patch, and then he behaves. He learns. But achroinim, there was something very wrong in the essence of their being, which we call sinas chinam, and Yerushalmi puts in chemdas mammon. Chemdas mammon and sinas chinam. Why is this something that's wrong in the essence of their being? I'm going to try to explain this. What? Chemdas mammon is to strive for money. Strive for money. That causes sinas chinam. Because everybody's out to get what they want, out to get, prestige, money, so the other person falls on the wayside. If I'm happy with what I have, I'm more than happy to help out the next person. So I'm going to try to explain this a little bit. Klal Yisrael as a unit only exists, Klal Yisrael as a whole exists as a unit. The Maral says in Netzach Yisrael that the natural state of being for Klal Yisrael is as a whole unit. This that was spread out is an unnatural state. It was spread out for 2,000 years, but it's an unnatural state for Klal Yisrael. And since it's in oral terms, something which is an unnatural state cannot be. It'll eventually come back together. But Klal Yisrael as a being is Am Echad. Mika Amcha Yisrael, Goy Echad. We're Am Echad. And we find it deep down, even a person could have his greatest enemy. He sees him stuck on the side of the highway, he's going to get out and help him. By Klal Yisrael, we overlook our issues with our neighbors and we help them out in the time of need. This is the beauty of Klal Yisrael, because in essence, we're an Am Echad. The reason the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't have anything to do with a single person. The Rebbeinu Shalom shows his Scheiner on a Klal Yisrael when they're together, when they're Am Echad. If there's a period, so in being we're missing. If a person is, each person himself also, you see it. If a person himself, they have an expression today called Pizar HaNefesh. You know what Pizar HaNefesh is? Pizar HaNefesh is someone that is stretched, is doing different things, and he's an unsettled person. Unsettled person, what can you do? Klal Yisrael is one unsettled person. When you have each person running his own show, it's finished. Klal Yisrael as a being is Echad. And when the Klal Yisrael as being is Echad, then Rebbeinu Shalom is with us. Both Batei Mikdashim were destroyed because the social fabric of Klal Yisrael was destroyed. If the social fabric of Klal Yisrael was destroyed, there's no place for a Beis HaMikdash. And the only way we could fix it is by fixing the social aspect of Klal Yisrael. In the first Beis HaMikdash, it was an outside thing. They be'etzem, in essence, they were really good people and they were whole. There were things pulling them, got rid of it, back together. In the second Beis HaMikdash, in essence, we lost our strength and Aru Ara Yesod Ba. We're suffering from a sinas chinam which is more deep-rooted. What does this mean? I'll give an explanation. In social law, if let's say I harm you monetarily, I do something bad to you monetarily, on purpose, it would stand to reason that you don't have to do anything good to me for sure. Bad to me, okay, maybe, two wrongs don't make a right. I harmed you, maybe you can't harm me. Nature of people is they'll try to get taken to kama, but at least you want a favor from me? After what you did to me, you want a favor? I am not obligated to do any favors for you. Jewish law says not like that. It's in Mefurish Halach, it's quoted on the second side. On the bottom, we have a mitzvah of loisikim loisita. You're not allowed to, it's a chinuch brings it, you're not allowed to have any revenge physically, and not even have a feeling of revenge. Not allowed to have a feeling of revenge. What does this mean? So if you look at Mishorshe HaMitzvah, Sheyeda Adam V'yitan Aliboy K'kol She'yikro Me'toy Ve'aro Asiba Sh'tomer. First of all, we believe Hashem did everything for us. That person harmed me, it was only because Rebbeinu Shalom allowed him to harm me. I deserved it, whatever the reason is. This is our belief. Our belief is that whatever came to me was coming to me. Miyada Adam, Miyada Shachiv, Lo yeh davar bilto yiratzeh Hashem Yisbarach. Nothing's going to happen without the will of Hashem. Al kain, k'sheyetzivu ayachivu adam yada b'nafshi, he should know to himself, ki avaynoisiv garmelav Hashem Yisbarach gazlo b'kachal. Someone harmed you monetarily, you were supposed to get that loss. How? It came about through this person. V'lo yoshis machshavoisav lumka mimenu. You shouldn't think to take revenge for him. Ki hu einei sibas tirasa. He's not the one that caused you bad. Ki avanu mesav. K'mashal davar tolin becheta v'oidim tzur mitzvah rav. Further. Therefore, it's missing the top. But therefore, the mitzvah is you're not allowed. If someone says, you know, I say to my fellow, lend me a hammer. He says, what do you mean? Yesterday, you know, you just harmed me monetarily. Now I shall lend you a hammer? No way. He's over on the lav of Lisita. How is that possible? Shal linter, the next one, same thing. We're not even holding our hearts. Masher lo nechem Yisrael. Even though I'm not gonna harm him. No, I'll never harm him. I'm just like you. You didn't lend me, I'm not lending you. Also, how do we expect that from the person? There's a machlokes rishonim. The chinuch holds that even if he harmed you physically, he physically harmed you, the chinuch holds you're not allowed to withhold anything from him. Other rishonim say he physically harmed you, that's different. But the chinuch holds even if he physically harmed you, if he's harming you now, then you don't have to be like a stone. You know, you don't have to. You can fight back right now. But it's over. It's history. He finished harming you. It's done. It's a done deal. It's over. That's it. You can't hold it in your heart against him. It's the chinuch holds. Such a mitzvah. That's a social law. What kind of rule is that? The answer is our social laws are not just to make people, you know, be able to live together. Our social laws are subjugated, like a verse says, to the Rebbeinu Shalom. We have to subjugate ourselves to the laws, the social laws that the Rebbeinu Shalom put on us. Why? Why is this? Now here's where I want to get to, and I'll end with that. And this is a very important yesod, and it has a few differences which we could come to. The Ramah says in Tshuva that the laws, even bein adam l'chaveroi, that Hashem gave us, are not for the purpose of keeping peace. The laws are for the purpose of personal growth. A person himself has to be so complete that if someone harms him, that doesn't change my attitude. Because he's not nice to me, that doesn't mean that I should be a low down person. He's a low life, doesn't mean I have to be a low life. Doesn't mean I don't understand what this person did to me. I ignore it. This person's a good guy. No, I understand what he is. But I don't have to change. I could be an upright person, even if that person is not. The laws of bein adam l'chaveroi are for me personally, that I should be a healthy human being. The laws of sinas chinam, chinam doesn't mean free. You know what chinam means? Sinas chinam means I'm only allowed to hate someone if he did certain averos. If he did certain averos, Masane Hashem, as someone hates Hashem, I'm allowed to hate him. Someone who didn't do those averos, I have no right to hate him. Sinas chinam. He harmed me, he did something to me. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that I have to hate him. That's not whatever happens to me is from the Rebbeinu Shalom. The social laws are laws that I personally should be a better person. And if I come to that realization, my life is different. I mentioned on Shabbos that the Rambam, Mordechai, I have it quoted here. Because it's a fascinating Rambam if you go through it slowly. But the idea is this underlying point, that a person himself has to be complete. You don't have to worry about everyone else. And when he is, his life will be different. People will respect him. He won't have so much tsar. He'll be a different person. He won't get caught in the little in the mud. The Rambam says, I mentioned Shabbos, the Rambam asked a question, it's quoted here in the Ramban on Teres Adam, it's just easier to read than the Moed Avuchim. The Rambam says that do people come to this world, they have more tsar, or do they have more pleasure? Old question. A person comes down to this world, is he going to experience more pleasure in this world, more nachas, or is he going to experience more pain? And it's all debate everyone has. The truth is, the real answer to this question is that it's impossible to say a person is going to experience more pain, because it's a steer to his whole chiyus, his whole life. For example, let's say someone's toe hurts. His toe is killing him. So is it better that he shouldn't have the toe? He has a life. Pain only comes after we establish that he's living. So first he has to have a life, and then he can have pain in that life. If he never had the life, he wouldn't have pain. So it's better a person shouldn't have the life and have the pain. It doesn't make sense. It's pashut, when someone thinks about it, that the enjoyment of life itself, a person should have so much enjoyment for being alive itself, that the pain that comes is secondary. Of course, you have to reach there, but that's the pashut. But the Rambam brings this question, and the Rambam says that, here, read it for you here, it's second line, people think the bad of the world is more than the good. If you make the equation, it comes out a person being in this world is for his bad. He shouldn't be in this world. The pain is more than the good. But who's out there? And the Rambam explained, most of the pain a person has in this world comes from their own, how do you translate chisaron daitam? They're missing something in their minds, misunderstanding.
Perception.
What?
Self-perception.
Yeah. And from our foolishness, we're screaming out. And from the bad that we're causing ourselves. But on our own will, why? Because most bad happens, he causes some pain, he causes you back pain, you say something silly to your boss, he gets you back for it, you step on someone's toe, he gets you. Wars, so there's two aspects here. There's one aspect that a person causes upon himself. Human beings cause upon themselves collectively. Human beings cause upon themselves collectively tsar. Most tsar that comes, the human beings cause to themselves. And if a person wouldn't, he would have a very enjoyable life. Now, sometimes you say, it's not my fault, it's the other guy's fault, you know. But a person has to be able to be beyond that, past that. Just because he did something wrong, it's nothing to do with me. I'm past it. It's a high level. But that's what sinas chinam means. The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed to sinas chinam because we were not able to say, Leisikam Leisita. We were not able to subjugate ourselves to God's understanding of social law. We got caught in the fights. And the Rambam says another point, I know I'm over time here, the Rambam says another point here, that we cause it upon ourselves another way. The Baruch Shalom, Meshachachim explains this in the Tzavim. The Baruch Shalom created a person with all his needs. Exactly, he was created with all his needs. Now what does he do? He goes outside and he sees his neighbor has a Lexus. So he says, I'm not keeping up with the Jones. My lawn is all destroyed, you know. My neighbor has a beautiful little garden. So I need to make mine look good. So I put in some money to it. Then I can't pay my bills. So why am I having such sound? Why can't I pay my bills? Because I'm not Kim Baris Adam Yosha. Hashem created a person straight. He doesn't need more. And him Bikshu Cheshbonis Rabbi, they make all kinds of Cheshbonis. They make all kinds of ideas and build smarts on top of, ideas on top of ideas. They need this and that, and this will be good. And they have to buy this for the child. They have to, and that causes a social situation where he can't keep up to it, and We call Pasha Regal. He's finished. He has to declare bankruptcy. It's in monetary. It's in health. A person, the Meshalachim says, a person is created. The Rambam says here that if he eats the right food, he'll be healthy. But he gets carried away. This is enticing. He gets caught up. And he causes on himself pain, because now he's in a situation where he loses. So what happens up to Rambam? The Rambam says, if you go down a few lines, he says, Rak al sechlusein, v'akadosh baruch hu lo yechadish moifis. Hashem is not going to make a miracle. V'nes ba'olam lazer ha'mashugayim. The Rambam is not going to make a miracle to help a Meshugana. That's what the Rambam says. So the Rambam says that most pain in the world is caused from people among themselves. People in the society, they have to, deal with society the way they feel. They have to be living in this society, and therefore they get themselves into trouble, and now they're waiting for Hashem to bail them out. He's not making a net from Meshugoyim. That's what the Rambam says. So that's his idea. But what we could take out of this is, I'm past my time, I'm going to end here. What we'll take out of this is that we have to understand that we, ourselves, could be stronger. And all our beinodim l'chaveroi is really, the crux of the issue is me, myself. Not that we're bad people, we're good people. Just we have to understand that we don't need to look on the next person to be better. We have to look at ourselves. And if we could pull on ourselves, I'm not going to be upset. If someone does something wrong to me, I'm not going to be upset, because I deserved it, whatever it is, it's an einish, it should be a kapara and finished. I'm not going to be upset. And if I'm not upset, I have such a happier life. And I'm a happier life, and then I could maybe come to, maybe I could come to, loving my fellow Jew. That's the next mitzvah after this one. Maybe. Okay, that's another darga. But the first darga is, not to hate him. I can't hate him because, for me, I can't hate him. Forget about for him. For me, it is incumbent upon myself to elevate myself, that I'm not caught up in this social pressures. I'm not caught up in the infighting. And then I'll be a much happier person, and that would bring a shleimus to Klal Yisrael. Everybody could lift themselves up, even if I could. So then it makes me much closer to the next human being. It makes everybody together as one unit. And then, like the morale says, together will automatically, the pizza will go away, we'll automatically be together. We don't have to work to become one. We have to work to take away our own negative feelings, and the Mela will be one, which is to the Gula Shleima.
Amen.